All right, welcome back to Allegheny Health Network Nightly Sports Call. I'm Rich Walsh. I'm joined by Gene Collier. We're going to be taking your phone calls. We got Mike, Brad, JB, and Joe on the hold right now. Give us a call, 412-575-2600, or you can always tweet me. Gene, I found something out today. Someone notified me that I am nominated for something that I think is really cool by the Best of Pittsburgh 2017 City Paper. You know, not nominated for the best sportscaster. That goes to Palm.
People know you are.
Yeah, people know I'm not. So, but I'm nominated for the best hair in Pittsburgh. I'm really excited about this nomination.
I would be.
Would you vote for me? I'm trying to get people out there. I do not want to lose to the panel of people that are on there. I don't know who they are, but I'm going to have to look it up on the next show. But I'm trying to encourage people to get out and vote for me. It's PittsburghCityPaper.com. Best of. I'm in the best hair department. That would be quite an honor if I won that, because I really try to do everything I can with. And that's one thing I take pride in, my hair.
You should.
Thanks. All right, let's go out to the phone lines. We got Mike and Breezewood. How you doing, Mike?
Yeah, it is time to write the season off, and with Cervelli being hurt, it's time to get Diaz in there and see if he's your future. And tonight's a prime example of why the Pirates are always chasing the Cardinals in the standings. They ask Wainwright to put the bunt down. He does. He gets the runner over. Tyon runs it right back to the pitcher. He jogs to first, ends up being a double play. That comes back to Hurdle, and until they get rid of Hurdle, they're not going to have anything in Pittsburgh.
You know what? Thanks, Mike, for your call. And he brings up a point that someone else brought up yesterday, getting rid of Hurdle. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think he's going to be back next year. I mean, do you? What's your inkling on that?
I think he will be back, but it's curious that he doesn't have an extension and that Huntington doesn't have an extension. And it could be that one of them is not getting an extension, and that's why it hasn't been announced yet.
That's probably a good point there, Gene.
Because if they're going to announce, you know, who's getting it, you know, the first question is going to be, what about the other guy? And they don't want to answer that question yet, and that's what makes me think somebody's not coming back.
And I would think out of the two, you would have to think that the front office, or make an educated guess that Neil Huntington would be the guy that would get the extension just because he does everything that Nutting's want him to do.
Well,
you would think.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that, but that makes sense to me.
I think if either guy doesn't come back, they're going to get a job somewhere in baseball next year. I don't blame this season on Clint Hurdle. He didn't really have a lot to work with at times. But, you know, I know sometimes that teams want to make changes, but a change isn't going to buy you a third baseman and a starting pitcher and a reliever.
Well, you know, the example that the caller gives tonight about Tyon, you know, putting the bunt down and then not running and winding up, you know, on the back end of a double play there and attributing that to Hurdle, you know, all I can tell you about that is every team in the big leagues is having that exact thing happen to them. You know, the baseball's not played the way it was 50 years ago. People don't run hard to first base all the time, and some guys don't run to first base hard ever. But it's not restricted to the Pirates. The Cardinals did it tonight. They had a situation where they could have tied the game, but I don't know if it was Wong or DeYoung hit a ball that he thought was a home run, didn't wind up at second. Had he wound up at second, this game would be tied right now. Every team in baseball has that going on.
All right, back out to the phone lines. Let's keep it on the Pirates, and we're going to go out to JB, Squirrel Hill. How you doing, JB?
Oh, hey, how you guys?
Good, thanks for calling.
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks. So I'm calling actually about Garrett Cole. So, I mean, the situation with Cole when he pitched last time in Milwaukee, they needed this guy to go out and pitch like an ace, and he didn't. I mean,
he did for a little while.
And stopped the bleeding, and then he got roped. I mean, it's just a joke, this guy.
Well, I think that's the MO, JB. I think that's the MO with him. You know, I know when he gets in certain situations, I know you can tell he gets frustrated at times, and that's when he blows leads like he did in Milwaukee, just out of frustration. But, I mean, at times he's proven to be an ace-type pitcher. Maybe on a better team, Gene, that he might feel more comfortable.
I mean, I don't understand. Like, they don't have an ace, really. And I think that's a good place to start.
And they're probably never going to have an ace. I mean, unless you're picking 1 overall or 2 overall, and they're not going to go out and get one because they can't afford one, and if they had one, they couldn't keep them. So, I mean, I think Pittsburgh Pirates fans have to deal with, if they're lucky, a number 2 guy on some other teams, and a couple number 3 guys is a good rotation for the Pirates.
I guess.
Well, you know, Cole is the closest thing the Pirates have to an ace. I mean, he's had 25 starts, and I think the Pirates have won 15 of them. He has 10 wins. He's not a joke. I mean, that's a ridiculous statement. But no, he's not an ace, and the Pirates don't have one. The Pirates have a really unusual starting rotation this year. They've only started 6 pitchers. That's the lowest in the big leagues. Usually when you have that going on, that kind of stability, you do a lot better than they have. So they have a stable starting rotation. It's just not a very good starting rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I like their top 3, and I think that's a good start for the Pirates with Cole, Tyone, and Nova. But I think if you had another one of those guys, this team would be so much better. A number 3 guy kind of like in that grouping, and then battled Cool and Williams and Brault and whoever else they're going to throw out there for a number 5 guy.
Cool and Williams and Tyone, they're all learning to pitch. You know, they're very inexperienced players, and you know, it takes a couple of years to learn this stuff. Cole, you know, should be a lot better than he is right now.
Yeah, I think he might be. I think maybe he has the makeup. If he went to like an LA or a Nationals where he's not the main guy, maybe he would pitch a lot better. You know, maybe he isn't a number 1 guy on another team. Let's go out to, we'll keep it out on Cole and Kutch and go out to Joe and Altoona. How you doing, Joe? Joe, you there?
Yeah, Rich, how are you and Gene tonight?
We're good.
We're great. How about you?
Good, good. Yeah, I got 2 quick things.
I'd be better if you vote for me in Pittsburgh paper.
Well, I hope you win that thing,
Yeah,
Rich.
best
I really
there.
do.
All right, thanks.
That'd be outstanding. Yeah, guys, I got 2 quick things here tonight on the Pirates, number 1, and on the Steelers. With the Pirates, I think the nuttings are the problem. They got to make a good faith gesture. It's just my opinion. Sign McCutcheon long-term, sign Cole long-term, and say we're going to start our offense and defense with that. Granted, Cole may not be a fantastic ace. By all means, keep Clint Hurdle. I grew up in the 70s, 60s, and 70s when baseball was really fun. It's just a shadow of what it used to be.
Joe, I'm going to stop you right there. They can't afford to sign Cole long-term, and they're not going to be able to afford to sign McCutcheon long-term. That's just the way it is.
Well,
they might be able to afford McCutcheon, but I doubt with Cole. I don't know if he even wants to be here. He's a West Coast guy. But I don't think...
Well, that's what he's saying. They can afford him, but they won't.
Well, yeah, they can afford him, but not under the way how they're structured.
Yeah,
they can't.
No, that's what he's saying. It's the nuttings are the problem. I think that's well established on this show.
Yes, yes. I mean, we talk about it every
If
single
I'm
day.
still on, can I ask a Steeler thing real quick?
Yeah, you're on.
Okay, good. With the Steelers, I think this could be their year. And this may be misspoken on my part, but I believe Mike Tomlin's a great coach, but I'm not sure he can beat Belichick head-on with the coaching. As far as the teams, I think we can go with them stride for stride. We've got a real good team this year, but it's going to be tough. And I agree with you guys. We game at home. We've got to win the game in December.
They have to have a better record. Thanks a lot for your call, Joe. You know, the one thing with the Steelers, they definitely have to have a better home record to play the Patriots here. And I forget the point that I was going to make with the Steelers. Oh, I wanted to bring up Vince Williams. I did an interview with him on KDKA-TV News at 6 o'clock, a live interview with him. And we were talking about, you know, the offense has high expectations, but the defense seems to be flying under the radar. And he said that's the way the guys like it. He thinks that they're going to be really good and no one's going to expect them to do what they can do this year. I know everyone wants to say that at the beginning of camp, but, you know, I kind of buy into that.
Well, they're going to be flying way under the radar if they don't get people back on the field.
Yeah.
Where's Mike Mitchell? Where's Ryan Shazier? You know, where's
James Harrison?
Where's Cameron Sutton? I mean, you know, they don't have anybody on the field. They're going to be finishing in the middle of the pack unless some people get healthy.
All right. Well, we got to get healthy and take a break. Back in a couple minutes. Stay right there.